The University of Johannesburg has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the ABN Education Trust. And the MoU will see bursaries and internships made available to qualifying students. I have Professor Chilizi Marwala, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Johannesburg, UJ, as well as ABN Group's Managing Director, Roberta Naika, joining me in studio to discuss this partnership in more detail. To the both of you, thanks so much for your time. It's really feeling like the end of a pandemic era with the two people joining me in studio. It's absolutely fantastic. Roberta, I want to start with you though, because this actually really made me excited, the signing of this MoU. Just given the fact that, I mean, you'll remember I started out at CNBC Africa through the internship back in 2011, many moons ago. But talk to us exactly about this bursary program and exactly who it is aimed at.
So I think, firstly, thank you so much, Fifi. When CNBC Africa launched in 2007, there was this gap, and we noticed the gap in terms of financial journalism. There was just no skill set available. So we went out and we consolidated our CSI activities, and we said we will actually fund students to actually encourage them to study financial journalism. So that's what we initially started off with, and we formed the ABN Education Trust, and that was launched in 2011. And since then, we've given bursaries across the African continent, mainly in South Africa, but many in Ghana, many in Rwanda as well. And we started off initially just on financial journalism, but we've now subsequently, just rolled that out to, various other vocations as well. So it's exciting. We're so excited to be partnering with UJ on this as well.
Prof, your sentiments on this MoU? What does something like this mean for UJ?
Well, I mean, we are quite excited about it because the University of Johannesburg is a large university, 52,000 students. Secondly, it is, according to QS rankings, is the second best university in the African continent. And according to Times Higher Education Impact Rankings, is the second in the continent, but the first in South Africa. So it is important that the students who are coming out of a university as good as University of Johannesburg, who are going to be influential people in society, interact with companies such as CNBC to ensure that we co-create value, because this is an investment. For us, this is not a donation. This is an investment into the future. Mm-hmm. It is a co-investment between two parties into the future, not only just of South Africa, because at the University of Johannesburg, our students come from more than 90 different countries. So it is really an investment into the world, and largely into the African continent.
All right, so let's get into the specificities of the investments then. Roberta, exactly how will this work in terms of which students can qualify for this bursary?
So we will be offering 2 bursaries per year. The student has to be already enrolled at the UJ to study sort of a qualification. And we will offer full bursaries in terms of not just the education, but a support structure as well, which I think is extremely important. We will obviously also closely monitor the results, the academic records, and for the however long it takes to complete that degree, which I think is essentially very important as well. They would need to also form some sort of a motivational pack that they would put together. This will need to be given to us. We have a committee that oversees this, and then once this committee goes through that, we will then choose who the successful candidate is, and then we'll offer them that bursary.
And then there's also the internship a leg to this, right? So this is students beyond those who get the bursary. 100%.
So once they qualify, we offer them an internship within the organization. Mm-hmm. Doesn't necessarily, it's not mandatory. They can choose to obviously go, lots of these students also choose to go overseas, but we do offer them the opportunity to work within the newsroom as well. In fact, since we've started, we've got about 50 to 60 bursaries that we've, frontline anchors that we've started on this route that are now working across the African continent and on other international media platforms as well. So I think that internship process is extremely important as well, that we do offer within the organization.
Yeah, as I said, I'm one of those anchors. Thank you. Prof, just broadly speaking, I mean, Roberta was talking about the fact that when they already started and were started getting active in supporting the development of financial journalists in South Africa and actually on the continent, there was a lack of that skill at that time. Hopefully they have managed to close that gap somewhat. I'm sure there's a whole lot more room for improvement to be done. But just what's your view of the media landscape as being an area of opportunity for young people to pursue and develop a career?
No, absolutely. It's a very important pillar of our society. It is a bedrock of our democratic tradition. It is embedded into the business sector. It is embedded into the government sector. Government has to communicate what they are doing. So it's a very, very important thing to pursue. But we also, as the University of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, do realize that even though the core skills that are needed in journalism have not changed, the way journalism should happen and is happening is changing. Many of our people no longer read newspapers as a source of information, because much of the information that you read on the newspapers, you have already picked them up on Twitter. Now, how do we take information from a reliable media source into the Twitter space or any other spaces like that, so that people can get the correct information? Because those spaces, the negative part of those spaces is that you can be able to peddle wrong information. The so-called post-truth era actually necessarily leads to that. So this is very, very important. So it's not really just about the relationship just concentrating on the professions in their traditional forms. The beauty of this partnership with the university that is focused on the Fourth Industrial Revolution is that we are also creating people who are skilled for the future that is here.
Yeah, can tell you no fake news here. So I think that the students will certainly enjoy the experience. But to the both of you, really excited. Thanks so much for joining me in studio just to speak more about the deal that was Professor Chilizi Marwala, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Johannesburg, as well as Roberta Naika, Managing Director of the ABN Group.